It is week 15 in the 2023 NFL season, and today on Steelers Talk, I'm going to be answering your questions on the black and gold coming to me from you, the fans. But before I get into these questions here, do me a favor, click that subscribe button right now if you want to join the most interactive Steelers community here on YouTube, 100% free. We do these mailbags every single week so you guys can have your voices heard on the show. And then we also have weekly live shows and a weekly watch party for every single Steelers game where we try to keep things fresh. We keep you guys involved in the chat, and we have a lot of fun here on Steelers Talk. So if you want to learn more about the Steelers, you want to interact with your fellow Steelers fans, and you just want to have a great experience as a Steelers fan here on YouTube, you can click that subscribe button right now. It's 100% free to do so. And with that, I'll pause and open it up for questions here. We got a $50 super chat from King Yenzer Anthony Fuller. We are not worthy. And he says, Justin Fields trade. So this is definitely a hot topic here in Steelers Nation because I did a poll on this. I said, I gave a couple of options. Steelers fans, do you want to keep Kenny Pickett, draft somebody in the draft, sign a veteran in free agency, or trade for Justin Fields? And less than 20% wanted Justin Fields. Okay, so there's definitely a smaller portion of the fan base that wants Justin Fields. But honestly, man, if you're trying to win titles with the roster that you have right now, I feel like Justin Fields is the swing that not being scared and not living in your fears would end up being. Because Justin Fields, back in 2022, he was the most valuable rusher of the football according to points above replacement out of anybody in the National Football League just last season. Okay, he's an elite rusher of the football. He can be the most dynamic weapon offensively in this league if he just develops a little bit more in the passing game. If you pair him with a really good offensive coordinator and he hits with this defense here in Pittsburgh and George Pickens and Deontay Johnson and Jaylen Warren and Mike Tomlin as the head coach, I think you're back in business and you're competing for Super Bowls again. Now, if you trade for him, right, it's going to cost you a second and probably a fourth round pick. And if he doesn't hit, then you're wasting another year or more of T.J. Watt's career, Minkah Fitzpatrick's career. So it's definitely risky, but could it be worth the risk? I'll leave that up to you guys. Then we got the Pittsburgh Steelers fan 8 question here. He says, do you guys think we need to move on from Grady Brown's secondary coach? I really don't know. I think we need some more. Here's what I'll say. I think that he's done a really good job with Joey Porter Jr. this year. I think Patrick Peterson's gotten better as the season's gone on. Minkah Fitzpatrick has obviously done a great job under Grady. I really do think that Grady is fine, but I would like to get some better personnel in there, right? DeMonte KZ, super slow. He needs to be replaced. Keanu Neal is not fast either. You need a really fast safety to go along with Minkah Fitzpatrick back there in the secondary. I think you need to get a little bit younger in the cornerback position. Patrick Peterson has also looked slow at times this year. I think he's looked better in recent weeks. But Joey Porter Jr. is doing fine. I don't think you need to replace Grady. I think if there's a position coach I want to replace, it's going to be Pat Meyer, the offensive line coach. He has been terrible. Then we got one from Tony Cutlitz. Oh my goodness, man. All this DeVito stuff. What are your thoughts on LSU quarterback Jayden Daniels? Do you think the Steelers should target him in the first round this year? So Jayden Daniels is super intriguing, man. Super good athlete, big arm. He did a really great job. He's the number 1 graded college quarterback in the NCAA this year. Of course, he won the Heisman as well. Congratulations to Jayden for that. But, on the limited amount of film that I've seen, the decision-making isn't all the way there yet. So it's like he's got the high-end skills and the talent that you look for, but how much is that worth in this year's draft class, right? Is that going to be top 5, top 10, or is that going to be more where the Steelers are going to be drafting closer to 20? So if he's available there and you haven't picked up a quarterback or traded for one at that point, I think you got to consider it, especially with Kenny Pickett and the struggles that he's had so far in his career. It's definitely an interesting possibility. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comments section. Would you draft Jayden Daniels, Heisman Trophy winner, to replace Kenny Pickett in the 2024 season? Type yes or type no. This is going to be the pinned comment on today's show. So when YouTube throws you an ad break here in just a couple of seconds, do me a favor, answer today's pinned question with a yes or no. Then we get to Steelers' dad here, Gold Club member. Says, I appreciate Tomlin and his contribution to the Steelers' legacy. I honestly think the best thing for the team is to move on from him. I feel we are wasting the many talents we currently have. So if Steelers dad, this is what I'll say. If you're worried about wasting talent, then getting a new head coach will essentially be doing that next year. Because if you get a new head coach, your chances of winning the Super Bowl drop to pretty much zero, because there's pretty much no first-year head coaches in the history of the National Football League that have won a Lombardi trophy in the first year with a franchise, all right? So if you're thinking you're going to replace Tomlin and you're going to have any shot at a Super Bowl next year, you can kiss that goodbye. And if you're asking T.J. Watt, Cam Hayward, Minkah Fitzpatrick if they want to waste another year of their primes on a new head coach, I think they would say no. I think they would want Tomlin back next year. So I think that if you're worried about wasting talents, I think you got to keep Mike Tomlin, and I think you got to try to get an offensive coordinator, and you got to get the quarterback right. If you do those two things with Mike Tomlin, with the roster currently in place right now, I think this team can compete for Super Bowls as soon as next year. So if you want to stop wasting talent here, I think the solution is keep Mike Tomlin. Now, before I get into the rest of the questions today on this week's mailbag, let's have a word from our sponsor at Factor Meals. This holiday season, you might be looking for nutritious, convenient meals to keep you energized on jam-packed days. Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal delivery service, can help you fuel up fast for breakfast, lunch, and dinner with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved, and ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. You'll save time, eat well, and stay on track with your healthy lifestyle while tackling all of your holiday to-dos. If you're too busy with holiday plans to cook but want to make sure you're eating well, with Factor, skip the extra trip to the grocery store and all the shopping and the prepping and the cooking and all the cleaning up as well. We know how much we hate to do dishes, guys, while still getting the flavor and nutritional quality that you need. Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are ready in just 2 minutes, so all you have to do is heat and enjoy. Super convenient. They sent a couple of meals to Coop and I's places. It's absolutely fantastic. Good tasting, healthy for you guys, really good stuff. So you head on over to factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 and use code SteelersChat50 to get 50% off. Factor Meals, that's code SteelersChat50 at factormeals.com/SteelersChat50 to get 50% off this holiday season. Then we got one from GMF. Says the Jets are trading Zach Wilson in the offseason. Should Pittsburgh at least consider trading for him? Maybe a conditional 5th or Trubisky and a 5th. No. Zach Wilson blows. He stinks, man. I know that he's got great arm talent, man, but I mean, arm talent and, the ability to throw from multiple angles and arm strength and all these different things, it only takes you so far. And if you don't have vision, if you can't mentally process a defense, you're not going to be able to be a good quarterback in this league. Plain and simply, and that's what Zach Wilson is at right now. And I definitely think his confidence has been shot with all of the bad play that he's had in the National Football League. He's not really allowed to play free like he did at BYU. And now, it just seems like he's stuck in a rut that he's probably never going to be able to dig himself out of. I think at the very least, or at the very most, he's a backup quarterback here in the National Football League. Then we get one from Sean here. He says, do you think Malik Willis could be an option at quarterback this year as a backup, as like a shot in the dark? Like if you're bringing back Kenny Pickett and say like a Jacoby Brissett in free agency and you want to take another shot in the dark on like a high upside kind of guy, sure, why not? Malik Willis apparently was vibing with Mike Tomlin during the pre-draft process. It seems like he could be available. So, I mean, it seems like a fit that could potentially be something, and he could be like a training camp star to watch out for. But at the end of the day, man, I just don't think Malik Willis, like Zach Wilson, has that mental processing and downfield vision aspect to his game that you need in an NFL starter, man. So at this point, I think Malik Willis as a starter in this league is looking pretty dim. Then we get to Wet Willie 96 here. He says, I heard San Francisco quarterbacks coach Brian Griese, not Brizzi, Griese, should be in line to get the Steelers offensive coordinator job. Thoughts? I like it, man. I would be 100% okay with that. Griese is a former quarterback in this league. He's somebody that's working in an organization right now that knows how to design an offense there in San Francisco, man. They're the best in the world at scheming things open for guys. So I would love it. I think Chris Forster, their run game coordinator and offensive line coach, might be a little bit of a better fit because I think Forster could come in and fix the offensive line immediately like he has there in San Francisco. But I'd be perfectly fine with Griese as well. Who would you guys like to see as the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Do you want Eric Bieniemy? Do you want Chris Forster? Do you want Darrell Bevell, the Miami Dolphins quarterbacks coach? Is it somebody else? Todd Haley, Antonio Brown, Big Ben? Who do you guys want as the next offensive coordinator of the Pittsburgh Steelers? Let me know down there in the comments section. Then we got one from Ben's Randomness here. He says, updated record prediction. I'm going 8-9. Tomlin's first losing season as head coach. And you know, Ben, I absolutely think that this is a possibility because you're dealing with a backup quarterback in Mitch Trubisky who was absolutely atrocious last week. And if he plays the way that he did last week for the rest of the season and you don't get Kenny Pickett back, could absolutely see 8-9. I could even see 7-10. Now, the big questions are, will you get Kenny Pickett back? And can Mike Tomlin work some of his magic here to get to 9-8 just like he did last season? And honestly, right now, I just have this weird feeling that Tomlin's going to get this team to 9-8. That's just me. Maybe it's just, being a prisoner of the moment, seeing everything that's happened in the past. But I just feel like Tomlin's going to get this team to 9-8 some way, somehow. Then we got one from Eric Pollitt here. Says, need a new offensive line, trade for a quarterback. So obviously you need new offensive linemen, but I think it's certain spots, right? I think you like the guards. I think you like Sayamalo and you like Daniels. Both of those guys are having good, especially second halves of the 2023 season. I think you like Broderick Jones. He's going to be starting at one of the tackle spots. But going into the offseason, I think you could definitely look at replacing Mason Cole as the center, and then you have to replace probably Dan Moore Jr. at one of the starting tackle spots. So it'll be interesting to see if they move Broderick Jones over to the left side or if they keep him over on the right side and draft another left tackle, maybe in the first round this year. So that'll be interesting to see here. Offensive line still improving, but I definitely think that it's better. It's been better this year than it has been in recent years. Then we got one from Romantic Steelers. Says, what % chance do you give Tomlin to still be the head coach for the Steelers next season? I'm going to go 97%, man. Like I'm almost 100% sure. You can never say never. But Art Rooney is not going to move off of a head coach this quickly, especially with the offensive coordinator being fired and the quarterback getting injured and all these different things. So even if they lose out, unless it's like super, super disastrous and the players are clamoring for a change at head coach, I just don't see Art Rooney getting rid of Tomlin. And as for the recent rumors about trading Tomlin elsewhere, I don't think it's really Rooney's style to trade Mike Tomlin to another organization. So I think Tomlin's going to get at least one more year here in Pittsburgh. And, if things start to crumble again next year, I think you could probably start with the talk about firing Mike Tomlin. But let me know what you guys think down there in the comment section. What is the % chance that Mike Tomlin is still the head coach in 2024 on a scale of 0 to 100? Let me know your answer down there in the comments. For me, I'm going to give it a 97. That'll be it for this week's mailbag. My fellow Yinzers, thank you so much to all the real ones that made it to the end of today's show. If you want to make sure that you get your voice heard on the show in future mailbag episodes, you can click that subscribe button and join us for the Steelers Talk watch parties on Wednesdays.